Email. Hello. Is there anybody there? I think there are 12 viewers there. And if anybody is watching, then welcome to the live streaming that I'm doing with William Green of My Green Pets. And we're waiting for William to join us now. I see him just checking in.
Hey there, Rachel. Can you see me?
No, I see your logo, but not you.
Let me see if I can turn off. Maybe I've got a camera on here I need to turn off.
No.
All right. I'm going to close out and then log back in and see if my camera...
All right.
All right. Hang on a second. Let's see.
Okay, so while we're waiting for William to come properly onto the live streaming, just to let you know that we're going to discuss 3 questions today. And the first question is how each of us got into the orchid hobby in the first place. The second question is how we got involved in YouTubing in the first place. And then last of all, but by no means least, we're going to discuss Bulbo medusae. And there you are, William, I see you.
Hi.
Hi.
Good to see you, Rachel.
Great to see you again, William. And how are you today, or this morning?
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm super excited about this. I woke up about an hour and a half ago just thinking about what we're going to say and what we're going to talk about. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Have you had your coffee?
Got it right here.
Excellent.
It's tea, actually.
Tea, oh dear. I'm sure that's very un-American.
Well, 7 years in Europe will do it to you. Plus, my grandmother was English.
Okay.
So right. We had lots of tea growing up.
Okay. Very good. So I see that we have 22 people watching us at the moment. And
oh, that's awesome. Hi, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes. Thanks for tuning in. And
Rachel, I just wanted to start out by thanking you for organizing this. As I said the other day, like I really feel like you've become a thread in the YouTube orchid community, and you're kind of tying people together. And I think that's great. So I really appreciate you doing this.
Well, and thank you for approaching me as well. And you know, we're all threads. It's just, yeah, we just need to get better intertwined, I think. But
yes,
thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
I think the 60 seconds video that you prompted people to make a while ago about orchid growing was excellent in terms of getting people looking at videos they wouldn't normally look at and channels they wouldn't normally look at. And it was just a wonderful incentive. It
was a lot of fun, I will say that. I was really thrilled, and I think everyone had a really good time. So I'm looking forward to maybe organizing some more community projects in the future.
I hope you do. I'll certainly take part anyway.
Sweet.
Okay. Well, shall we start with one of our topics then? Or can you actually see people's questions popping up there? Or perhaps they're not saying anything at the moment. I don't know.
I can't see anything on my screen. I'm not sure if I open up your channel on my computer, if I will see see the feed, but I can certainly try.
Okay, let me just have a look because I can't seem to find them here myself at the moment.
Oh yeah, I see the chat now. I see the chat now.
You're one step ahead of me. Oh, okay, all right. I'm getting it on a second computer beside me, so that's great. Okay, so which question shall we kick off with then?
Maybe we could just start out with our 3 topics, and then we'll start out with our first topic, and then we'll field some questions, and then the second topic, field some questions, third topic, field some questions, and then if we've got more questions, well, we'll just keep on going until we're good.
Excellent. I like
Sound good?
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Just saying hi to all the people in the chat here. Hi, Alexandra. Hi, Harvey. Hi, Never Lost for Words. Hi, Linda. Looking forward to interacting with you guys. All right, Rachel, well, our first topic was how we got into orchids.
Yes, that was our first topic, wasn't it? Do you want to go first?
I can.
Okay, you go first.
All right. So I've always been into plants. From the time I was a little kid, I was just really close to plants and insects too. I always thought was really interesting. And when I actually started out with carnivorous plants, so I had like Venus flytraps and the Sarracenia pitcher plants and the sundews and the butterworts. And I'm originally from the southern United States, and a lot of those plants are actually native to southern United States. And so I really was interested in that, and I would order plants, and I killed a lot of those, but they did bring me a lot of joy. But then I remember going to the grocery store at some point when I was little, and I saw a Phalaenopsis in bloom, and I remember just kind of looking at it and just, man, it really struck me. And then it turned out that I mentioned it somehow to my mom, and my mom knew a person in town who had an orchid collection, and he actually invited me over to his house. I was probably about 12 years old at the time. And he had a big collection of Cattleyas and some other orchids as well. And I remember just seeing the orchids and, of course, smelling them, and just, it was very, big experience. And he actually broke off one of his big Cattleyas and handed it to me and let me take it home. And it was right around Christmas time, I think. So I had all of Christmas break to sit there, and I put this Cattleya in a vase, and I stared at it, and I just couldn't. Actually, let me see. I'm going to reach over here 1 second.
Have you got a photograph?
I didn't think about doing this earlier, but this is actually a photo album for when I was a little kid. Right. And it's got a picture of that Cattleya in it. This is my orchid photo album for when I was little. Wow. Sorry, bear with me. Bear with me. This is unscrewed.
That's a long time growing orchids then, huh?
Yeah, I just, well, I guess since, yeah. I mean, I don't think I was really successful at it until I found YouTube, because then I started to be able to interact with, I don't know if I can find, I'm in too much of a hurry. I can't find it. It's in here somewhere.
Maybe you'll find it later on and show it if you do. But,
I'll show you this picture. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, the pitcher plants, the
yeah.
Is it?
It's little William with the pitcher plants.
Oh, is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
They're sweet.
Isn't that funny?
Oh dear. I love it.
So how about you, Rachel? How'd you get into orchids?
I'm afraid my story isn't as sweet as that, because I didn't start orchid growing when I was a child at all. I came to the hobby very late, and I have been interested in gardening for many years, and I write for a gardening magazine, but I never kept orchids, because I don't know why anyway, I just never kept orchids. And certainly in Ireland, we don't have the habit of growing orchids here. It's just not a thing. I mean, some people will grow phals that they buy in supermarkets, but that's it. And then my friend Liga, who's from Latvia, started growing orchids, or continued growing orchids, because she'd originally done it at home. And she said, oh, come on, you have to try this. And she'd give me divisions of plants that she had. And I really couldn't see the fascination for a long time, but she kept, she's such a bully, Liga. Liga, are you there? And
She bullied you into starting an orchid
she
collection.
bullied me into it, and she'd place orders, and she said, "Are you sure you don't want to, order something from this nursery in Germany?" But I suppose the real turning point came the first time, perhaps like you, that I saw a large flowered cattleya in real life. And it was at the annual orchid show at the Botanic Gardens, and it was a King George serendipity. The one with beautiful pink flowers, and I just my eyes off it. It was like,
Gotcha.
I wanted to speak to the person who grew that. How do you grow that? Like, tell me how to do it.
I want one.
I want that exact one. But,
And the rest is history.
Well, the rest is history, and the roundabouts and failures. That's what has us all here where we are now, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Well, shall we look at some questions that we might have?
Yeah, let's look at some questions. Now,
I had a question on my channel in the video I posted yesterday, and one person wanted to ask if you had a chance to get just 5 orchids, which one would you select? And I'm not sure if that means if I have a chance to keep 5 orchids out of my collection, or if I have a chance to get 5 more orchids. That's a pretty tall order. 5 orchids for me, that's a lot. Each orchid that I choose has got there's something important about it. Either it's something that's really rare, or it's really fragrant, or it's just got really outstanding flowers. So and this has been my answer for a while. I think if I am going to buy another orchid, it would probably be a Paphiopedilum sanderianum. Their petals can get up to 4 feet long. That's like about a meter 30, something like that. They're just unbelievably spectacular. And I have a thing for orchids with long petals, so probably it would have maybe something like that.
Like the whiskery petals that hang down.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a sucker for anything with those long, skinny petals.
You have a magnificent specimen you had with, I can't remember the name now, but I wrote down the name of yours. I was on the lookout for it for a long time, but it had the long, and you put it on a kind of pedestal table.
Yes.
And the petals hung lower than the table itself.
Yeah. Really. That's the way they're meant to be displayed, and they are showstoppers every time.
Yeah. Fantastic. Wow.
How about you?
Well, in terms of the 5 that I keep, I suppose there are a couple of cattleyas that I've loved since the moment I got them, and one of them is C.G. Rubbling, which is a purpurata cross, and that does really well for me. And when that's in flower, it's like the culmination of achievement in terms of orchid growing, as far as I'm concerned. I just love it.
You have a special place in your home that you display that one, right?
Yeah, and take so many pictures, and and Coastal Sunrise as well. It's an orange one with Laelia anceps in the parentage, so it's got the really tall stems, and it's
oh wow,
for them. So
long arching ones.
Yeah. So those 2 are very special to me. Definitely.
Cool. Well, I just want to say hi to Roger. It looks like Roger's here. Fernanda, hello. Mary Faye, hi. Patricia, hi. Thanks you guys for showing up. We are answering questions right now. I don't know if you see any on your end, Rachel.
I see it seems to have stalled though. I see Insay Shap. Sorry, can't pronounce your name. And somebody is making rude comments about Roger here. Where's Roger? So I think it's kind of stalled here. Roger awake yet? Somebody else says. I can't. There's something wrong with this. Let's see if I can
get I have one question that says, how do I propagate my amazing Cymbidium orchids, which are reliably wonderful flowers in our garden? And I would assume, even though I don't grow Cymbidiums, I would assume that to propagate them, you would simply need to divide them in divisions with at least 3 bulbs. So that's going to be my say on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. I don't know of any other way to propagate Cymbidiums, and at least 3 pseudobulbs. Okay. Yeah, I lucky somebody if they can grow those in their garden. They're probably.
I know. And on the California coast, you have people growing cymbidiums outdoors, and I'm so jealous because they're such spectacular orchids.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, our next topic is about why did you start a YouTube channel?
Okay.
Why don't you go first on this one?
Why did I start a YouTube channel? Well, I suppose it's the same history as the answer to the last question. That I was already involved in gardening and writing
You
for.
had already written a book at that point, hadn't you?
No, I hadn't written the book yet at that stage. No, the book, sorry, yeah, the book came out while I was YouTubing. But I write for a magazine, a gardening magazine. And the magazine that I write for, there's only one gardening magazine in Ireland, okay, had a website which was a social media website for gardeners. So I was a member of that. And this is before I was ever into Facebook or anything. I didn't know about that. And I met a whole load of gardeners there, and we would post what we'd done in our garden, and everybody would comment on it, and et cetera, et cetera. And then one day it occurred to me that perhaps somebody outside of Ireland might be interested in the material that I was putting onto this website, because it got so many views in Ireland. And somebody explained to me about YouTube, and I thought, well, I'll try that.
Cool.
That's about it.
Well, and here you are. 14,000 subscribers later, here you are.
Yeah, well, but it's been a long journey. It's been it doesn't happen overnight.
No, certainly not. And it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort putting into it. For me, I was kind of unemployed at the time, and didn't have a whole lot to do. And I was on YouTube one day, just maybe it just occurred to me, I wonder if anybody's doing anything with plants. And I have to give him credit. The first YouTube channel having to do with plants that I saw was, in fact, Brad's greenhouse. And when I saw what he was doing, I was like, oh my gosh, I can do that. So I only had like 2 orchids at the time. So I started up the channel. So actually, my first videos were published in 2013. So if you go back and, you'll see my original 4 orchids that kind of got me back into them after kind of a long hiatus. And, I'm also interested in photography and videography. And as you've seen with some of my videos, some of them I really have tried hard on to make them as, nice as possible. And others are just quick little, the phone camera, 50-second shorts. So it does, I think, to make quality videos, it does take a long time. So much respect to anybody out there who's making quality videos regularly, because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, but you get out of it what you put into it, I think.
I think very often what our viewers want is not so much quality videos as spontaneous videos. And certainly that was a consideration for me when buying the new camcorder, that, you don't want to make it too professional, because then they think you're doing it for money, or,
right.
That it's not really you speaking from the heart. So I think that's a consideration. But you've always been very good with your camera work. I remember you giving camera tips at one stage in the middle of your video, which I thought was quite good. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that was not a subtle way to encourage people to try to, do the better job at, holding the camera still and really getting in there. Like, if you have a plant and you have something to show me on your plant, get in there and show it to me, put that thing in front of the camera so that I can see it, there's the roots, boom, and hold the thing still so I can really get a good look at it. Because, one thing about orchid growing that's so important is attention to detail and really noticing those small things. So if you can convey that with your camera, it's all the better for the viewer, I think, in my opinion.
You've been YouTubing longer than I have then. That's interesting. But you generally do one video a week, don't you, William?
That's the goal. That's the goal. I haven't been particularly consistent recently, but that is the goal. Yeah.
And you've yet to monetize, if I'm correct.
No, I haven't done that yet. Yeah, it sounds like just kind of, I was following Roger as he was going through that, and it seems like a bit of a pain to do that. So I don't know if I ever am looking for ways to make income off the channel, it might be a different way.
Right. Yeah. Well, I thought about that too. I have my book for sale on the channel, but yeah.
So we have a question here for Never Lost for Words. She says, whereabouts do you people grow your orchids? In the house, in the greenhouse? And I don't know if this is particularly for us or just for other people in the chat, but as most of you probably know that have watched my channel, since I've moved to Colorado and I live in an apartment which I'm sharing, I don't really have a nice environment for my orchids anymore. So luckily 2 blocks down the street is an organization called Fantasy Orchids, and they actually lease greenhouse space. So I have a little place in the back of their greenhouse that I am renting. And so my orchids have never had to deal with the harsh, dry, hot Colorado weather. They've been in that nice temperate greenhouse since I've moved here. So everything seems to be doing okay.
And I grow my my orchids in the house, except in summer I put Atleas in the greenhouse just to get more light. So that's it, really. I'm just looking here at the other comments, and we have Roger saying, yeah, giving out about the people who've been cheeky. That's right, Roger, you don't take that.
Cheeky monkey.
Yes.
Love that. Well, Rachel, shall we move on to our next topic at hand, which is the beautiful and amazing...
Sorry, and Roger, no, I haven't seen your latest video yet about the castle. I will look at it afterwards. Sorry, William, please go on.
Oh, that's okay. I just saw a comment from Nina Boss saying, thank you for the Lucas the Spider feature in one of my videos. I mentioned that this little video called Lucas the Spider, this animator for Disney, he makes these like 30-40 second videos, and he's got millions of subscribers for these little videos that he makes about this cute little spider. So you're welcome, Nina. I really enjoy that.
Great. Wonderful.
So talking about let's talk about this guy.
Okay. What? You mean this guy?
Yes. They're cousins.
Oh, this is bigger than mine.
Well, let's talk about that, Rachel. Let's talk about how we grow this plant, and maybe for those of you who have never seen this plant in bloom. So this is Bulbo medusa or medusae, depending on how you pronounce your Latin. And it has got, I would say, some of the most spectacular blooms in the orchid kingdom, at least, that I've seen. I certainly haven't seen them all. But in November, December, it puts out spikes with umbrella-shaped blossoms that trail down about this. I mean, they're quite large, and they only last for a couple days. And they have a very kind of light, musty fragrance, so kind of sweetness. In fact, it smells like new tennis shoes to me. But Bulbo film.
Like what?
Like new tennis shoes, like new shoes.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
And yeah, it's just and I saw a picture of it on the orchid board years ago, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, I must have that. And so I bought this plant off of eBay, actually, and over the years, it kind of developed into something quite large. And a few months ago, I split it up into about 13 pieces. And many of you, hopefully some of you.
I'm just going to interject here to say that William has glossed over the whole scenario of having flowered the most magnificent specimen of Bulbophyllum medusae that I've ever seen. Now, right. I think we can probably link to your video up here of that in flower. An amazing plant, and you had it displayed so beautifully with all the flowers dripping down and everything. Was absolutely breathtaking. It's just
Well, I appreciate it, and it was breathtaking for me too. It is really when you when it blooms, it's really nicely when you display it on its side, so that the flowers actually come out and hang down, and you can see them all like that in that kind of cascading fashion. So that it is definitely a nice way to grow it and to display it. So yeah, how do we grow this thing?
Decided it. How could you do such a terrible thing?
It was starting to get so big, and the medium hadn't been changed in 3 or 4 years, and I was noticing that the plant wasn't looking as healthy as I thought it should, or as it had in the past. And when it went out, it was going to bloom this past year with like 21 spikes, and then at the last minute, half of them just died. Half of the spikes just dried up, and I thought, okay, something's not quite right. So I decided, all right, we're going to give it a refresh. We're going to split it up, and we're going to put it in fresh medium, and we're going to start from the beginning.
And how do you grow your plant, or how did you grow your plant until?
So bulbophyllums, and this one's no exception. They love heat and they love humidity. They love moisture. If they could grow with constant moisture, with constant water, washing over the roots. Well, maybe that might be a little extreme, but they definitely love water. So the first key for mine is that I never, ever, ever, ever let it dry out. It's got always some degree of moisture in the medium. So if the sphagnum is crispy, it's too dry. It does have aerial roots like most orchids. Hopefully you can see them there. And they can do the roots are okay if the environment is humid enough, then the roots can kind of do what these are doing, traveling out, looking for a place to land. But if it's too dry, those root tips will dry up, and they won't put out the roots like it is. So I would say heat, keep it warm, keep it wet, lots of air movement. And they can handle their fair share of fertilizer as well. If you fertilize them regularly, they will reward you with lots of new growth. They really can grow like weeds when their conditions are met. As you saw with my previous plant, it went from a 10 bulb division to like a 45 bulb plant after over 3 or 4 years. So they will grow quickly in orchid terms.
What aspect do you keep the plant in terms of light?
So this plant can actually handle the upper range of light when it comes to the orchids. So you can have this plant next to your cattleyas. I don't know if the color shows up here in the camera, but when it's getting lots of light, the leaves have almost a bronzish tint along the sides. And also when it's getting plenty of light, a lot of times you'll notice bulbs, when they put out a new lead, they'll put out 2 new leads, because the more light it gets, the more it can produce. And it'll also put out more spikes. Like you can have 2 spikes per bulb instead of 1 spike per bulb. So I think that's the color of the leaves is definitely the indication of getting enough light, because less light, it's going to have more of a dark green color, and it might not be growing as vigorously. So you can, it's pretty forgiving. It'll grow in a wide range, but to really maximize it, you want to give it, light on the high end of the scale for the orchid world.
Right there, I think that's what I'm doing wrong with my plant, not giving it enough light. I've had it like north-facing window.
Oh yeah, it can take direct sun.
Green leaves, and they're not wide like yours either. Yeah.
Give it a try. Try to give it a little bit more light. As you already know, I'm sure you want to kind of make it a gradual transition so it doesn't get burnt. But in the winter, I have it in a south-facing window receiving full sun. So if that gives you some kind of an indication, because the days are shorter, and the angle of the sun isn't as high in the sky, so it can handle that light.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I would keep my phals, for example, on a south-facing window if I have it in winter. But yeah, I didn't. Poor abused thing. But it looks
fine. The leaves look good.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, they're actually quite dark green. I don't know if you can see
Mm-hmm.
so well there.
Yeah.
And it's not terribly vigorous. I mean, it's growing, it's sending out new leaves, but nothing at the momentum that you were you were talking about there. And I keep it in sphagnum. I keep it
Mine's in sphagnum too.
moist in a clay pot then, just so that kind of cuts down on a lot of the rotting issues you might have. You have something kind of wet the whole time.
Sure.
But, I'll try putting it on a brighter windowsill and see if that if it helps it.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Keep it warmer and keep it brighter and see if that does anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, do you think that's big enough flowering size?
The leaves look kind of small, so it's possible. I don't know. I think it is actually. That top leaf there sticking out. It's thin, but it's long. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll try more light.
that's true. It might be a seedling. It might still be in the seedling stage. So
Of course, there's a hilarious story about how I ended up with this plant.
oh
I was
yeah.
actually looking for Epidendrum medusae, and I sent my list through to a nursery I was visiting in England. And when I arrived at the nursery, they only said they only had a couple of the plants I was looking for, one of which was Epidendrum medusae. Well, they didn't say those words, but they had my plants there. And I took it home. And when I got it home, I realized that they'd given me the bulb filament.
So it wasn't your mistake, it was their mistake.
I mean, I should have checked. Like, I should have checked the bag. Yeah, chancers, I think, is the answer.
You were in the throes of orchidomania.
Yeah. Too busy looking at what else I could get my hands on at the show rather than checking what I had already paid for.
Well, I'm excited that you have that show. It's always so much fun when your friends have the same plants as you and you can compare culture notes like we just did.
Yeah.
So just as a preview for everyone, this plant currently has about 3 or 4 spikes on it. So even though it's not a big plant, a big division, hopefully around November, December, if everything continues to grow well, I'll be showing you what this guy looks like in bloom. You can see, I don't know if you can see a spike right there.
Yes. Yeah.
Little guy.
Very good.
Hopefully he'll be pushing out some flowers and I can enjoy those here.
Very good. Listen, I just remembered Bumblebee left a question for both of us on one of the videos I uploaded.
Oh, okay.
And it was to do with Phalaenopsis because she loves species Phalaenopsis. And she wanted to know from both of us what it was that we liked about Phalaenopsis.
Oh, that's a great question. So I think Roger actually said earlier that everybody knows that your first orchid is a white Phalaenopsis. And I have to say, well, Roger, you're almost right. My first orchid was a pink Phalaenopsis. And there's a picture of it in the album I showed you a minute ago. But I think what's so great about phals is that, and some people, by the way, they say fails. And I just hate to call an orchid a fail. It's not a fail unless it's dead. But that's another topic. But anyway, what I love about them, one is the flower size. I mean, they're enormous and they've got just this beautiful crystalline sparkly texture to them. The inner parts of the flower are intriguing with the spots and especially the little antennae that come off the end of the lip. Those are just beautiful. And of course, one of the major things about phals that you have to love is the fact that the flowers last forever. I mean, you can have phals in bloom for 3 months plus, the same flowers blooming for months and months. I mean, how can you beat that? Yeah, there'll always be a special place in my heart for phals.
I really love the foliage, the really wide leaves.
Oh, it's so lush.
Droop down when you grow them so that they droop down. They really look nice, especially if you have one with no blemishes on the leaves.
Yeah.
It can look super.
It's very pleasing. Yeah, for sure. And if you are into species phals, like I have the Schilleriana, but a lot of the species phals have gorgeous spotted leaves that they've just got this grayish green color with these intricate patterning of spots and lines. And the leaves themselves are just truly It's really beautiful, and a lot of the species are fragrant as well. So you get fragrance, you get beautiful, intricate flowers, and gorgeous foliage. How can you go wrong?
I guess. And Bumblebee also asked, is there anything that you're missing after your move to Denver? I guess she meant in terms of plants.
Yeah, I'm missing the big Vanda. If you don't know, I was given a Vanda by an older grower a few years ago. It was a Vanda Picharda Light, had big, gorgeous purple flowers. There's lots of videos of it on my channel. At its peak, it had about 20 spikes on it, each spike with 10 flowers, so about 200 flowers at the same time. It's a massive, massive plant. It weighs about in metric terms, probably 20 kilos, the plant, so 45 pounds or so. It's that's why she gave it to me, because she literally couldn't handle it anymore. So it's actually currently with my dad. He's going to take care of it for me, and he's been taking pictures of it and sending it to me, and she's doing well. So when I'm home for Thanksgiving, I'll probably take some pictures of it and share with my YouTube channel so you guys can reminisce. But I definitely miss that plant for sure.
I bet you do. I bet you do. Actually, it would be nearly worthwhile not moving just to keep that plant, I think.
Well, and I thought about donating it to the local botanical garden in my hometown, but I couldn't let it go. Couldn't let it go. Yeah. Dad's taking good care of it, so I think it's going to be okay.
Okay, good. At least you get to see it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just looking here to see if there are any more questions.
Yeah, I'm looking on your most recent video.
Somebody says 20 kilos. My entire collection doesn't weigh that much.
It's a whole lot of orchid. We'll put it that way. It's a whole lot of orchid. People don't realize that, when they get into orchids, that these plants can be huge. I mean, they just don't stop growing. They keep growing. They're tropical plants, and they compete by growing bigger. So you have some orchids like the Grammatophyllum speciosum. It's the largest orchid and the largest species that there is, and the thing can get 3 meters tall. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. In the greenhouse where I'm keeping my plants, there's a guy there who has a big angraecum, and they remind me of Vandas in the way that they grow, and they're just enormous plants. But when you get a plant like that's so big, and it blooms and it puts out all those flowers, it's really remarkable.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to see an enormous Grammatophyllum at a show this spring.
Yeah.
And wow, really, really impressive.
Breathtaking.
It's wonderful to see something like that.
Yeah.
Makes you realize what it might be like in the wild.
That's why I feel like if you don't need to have 500 orchids in your collection. If you have 10 orchids that are well grown, those 10 orchids could be huge.
Yeah.
No, I mean, no, and there's no problem with having 500 plants. I'm certainly not saying that, but you certainly don't need 500 if you're just focusing on culture and want to get the plants as big. And plus, when they get bigger, you can share them.
Yeah. Well, what I really dislike about Cattleyas when they get big is you can have a really, really enormous plant, and you come to the point where this is the biggest pot you can manage. So you've got to divide the thing. So you take it out and you divide it into how many pieces. And something about once you start cutting it, the pseudobulbs have been scrunched up in the pot for so long and they spread out. And so you've managed to perhaps divide this plant into 4 pieces, and one of the pieces now won't fit back into the original pot. It's like, what the hell? Like,
yeah, sounds like you need to divide that plant instead of 4 pieces, you need to divide it into 10 pieces.
Yeah, I know. But when you have a big plant and you want to keep a big plant, it's just like, oh no, I need so many pseudobulbs. Or anyway, yeah.
It can be a real wrestling match tearing apart big plants for sure.
But a good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your problem, that your plants are growing too big, then that's not too big of a problem.
Yeah. Very good. All right, just having a look.
We've addressed our 3 topics. We've answered some questions. And one person's asking, have you heard from any? Hi, Erica. Have you heard from anyone who purchased your plants before your move? So this is a great question because when I sold my plants, my collection is very important to me. I don't have a whole lot of plants, but I call them my green pets for a reason. Some people have dogs, some people have cats. Well, I have plants, and I treat them like my pets, and I give them names. So. Yeah, actually, I let people know, please tell me how the divisions are doing. I really want to know. I'm not just selling these to get rid of them. I actually want to know how they're going to do for you. And it's been great. Several people have sent me pictures. The Path Michael Kopowitz that I sold, the person that bought it sent me a picture. It bloomed 2 months after or about a month after I sold it to her. It bloomed for her.
That was that Path with the big whiskers.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I had two. I kept one, and then I sold the other one, and she sent me pictures of the plant in bloom. So that's just so rewarding for me. You know what I mean? To see that, it was growing well for me, and now it's growing well for somebody else. I mean, how can you beat that?
Very good. Yeah, sure.
Good question.
You don't like to think that they get killed.
Yeah, and here's David Mayo. David bought a piece of Hal, the Bulbophyllum echinolabium, the one with the big stinky flowers, and it has put out 2 spikes for him. And I'm thinking, gosh, Hal, you didn't do that to me. You didn't do that for me. So, but I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah, that's good. That's all good. Okay, all right. Well, does that kind of bring us to the end of this live chat then, William?
I think it may. I think it may, yes.
Okay, because, keep them asking for more. I think that's a good thing.
Well, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. I realize Sunday morning is kind of a busy time for people, or Sunday afternoon, Sunday in general, getting ready for the work week, trying to spend time with your family and stuff. So we really appreciate you guys tuning in to spend some time with us.
Yes, thank you, everybody. And we're going to produce a video as a result of this, which is going to be on both William's channel and my channel. So if you missed something and you want to see it again, you can always play it back from locations. So.
And I would like to add that I have been way more active on Instagram recently than I have been on YouTube. I post on Instagram almost daily, especially in the stories function. I do daily updates of my collection. So if you don't have Instagram on your phone or have been avoiding it, I'm actually on Instagram because someone on my channel recommended that I get it. And I love it. I love it. It's so much easier to post information and to post videos. And
are you My Green Pets on Instagram?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'll go. Ma'am, where did that come from? Okay, I'll look out for it. I'm Douentza Garden on Instagram.
Okay, I didn't realize you were on there. Okay, I'm going to find you.
Yeah, and I'll find you. Okay, great. Okay, I guess that's it. Thanks very much to everybody for tuning in, and thanks very much to William as well. And,
yeah, thank you, Rachel, for organizing this. It's been a lot of fun. I hope to do it again. When's going to be our next session?
Yeah, well, let's discuss that. Maybe soon. I mean, if we can get some specific topics to discuss, then I think it's something that has legs.
Okay, maybe in a month or so.
Okay, all right.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, bye now.
Bye, guys.